out of the way, family. Now let's talk about the topic for the day, right? So, being melanated people in our community, all of us has heard the term somebody's talking white, right? Or you sound white, right? I even get that. Like, even to this day, I get that, right? So let's break down. This is my take on the whole sounding white conversation, right? Because there's layers to this, right? Now, this is my opinion, family. How you talk is based on a few things. It's based on your environment, like where you were raised. It's based on your influences. It's based on your knowledge base, like um, how well you can articulate yourself. All of these things play a role in why we sound the way we sound, right? But this is the thing. When we talk about talking white, now I have seen black men and women who were raised in pretty much all white communities where the majority of the people in their environment are white, if not all, right? And for the most, not all of them, but for the most part, they'll typically sound like the people sound in their environment, right? Right? That's one thing that happens for sure, right? There are other black people who, like myself, and I'll break this down for y'all, who find themselves in corporate America, right? If you're in a position where you have to speak to the public, right? If you're in a position where you have to speak to the public, can you necessarily use slang if you're in a corporate environment? Can you shorten up your words and speak the way we speak in our communities in a corporate environment? No, you can't, right? So you're going to perfect articulating yourself. And then me, and many people can attest to this, I come from like a sales background, right? Where sometimes, and I'll admit this, without even knowing, if you're on the phone with somebody and you're attempting to sell them something, and this is something you learn in sales, right? Sometimes they want you to mirror how the person sounds. So if it's a white person, you're not going to try to sound white, quote unquote, but you may mirror their voice inflections. You may mirror those type of things. Because again, I know black people who don't talk white per se, but they have a nasally, like valley girl type of connotation to their words. Like yeah or no, like some of that shit, right? That is reminiscent of a white person or a white lady. You see what I'm saying? So it's context, y'all, right? But something we need to stop, like something we need to completely get rid of altogether. If a black person is articulate, if a black person is just choosing to use certain words, don't call them a sellout. Don't call them. Don't say he or she is talking white. That's some nigga shit that we actually need to get off of. Because in essence, all of us need to be able to hold a conversation in any environment that we're in. We need to be able to hold a conversation, right? It's not about using big words. It's not about trying to impress people with linguistics and how you can actually speak. None of that matters. It's really just about being able to get your point across. That's what being articulate is, family. You shouldn't. Now you see what I'm saying? Ice Cube is extremely articulate. He doesn't use big words. He doesn't come at a conversation in that manner. That's not really what it's about. It's about being able to choose the right words for the conversation. And I am someone who, if you haven't noticed yet, I am someone who, as a young person, I had a severe stuttering problem. Like the fact, and this is some real shit, y'all. The fact that I can sit here with y'all today and speak clearly without stuttering, to me, is an amazing feat. Because from the ages of maybe 6 to 16, 17, it's when it was really, really bad. I had a severe stuttering problem. It was difficult. I was like a class clown type of kid who wanted to be the center of attention at times, and I think I'm hella funny and all this shit, but I couldn't get a word out edgewise, right? So in my case, I got a job when I was 17 years old that required me to like read a script to customers, right? This was the beginning of me breaking away from being such an avid stuttering. Because if you guys pay attention, sometimes I will, I will stutter a little bit. But the reason why I don't anymore is because needing to read this information put me in a position where I needed to say each word one after the other. You see what I'm saying? So it cut down because really a lot of times someone who stutters is someone who is just rushing through their verbiage. They are thinking about what to say faster than their mouth can compute. You know what I mean? So I was one of those people. So me reading this script to customers allowed me to take my time when I talk. You see what I'm saying? And then from there, I began reading books. Now, what the books did for me, because I began to learn quickly that if I cut down how many words I say, I'll lessen the chance of me actually stuttering, right? So instead of saying 4 words, I'll say 1. That's why I will use bigger words at times, family. And that's simply shit. At this point, that's simply like stutter. That's like my stutter prevention program. You know what I mean? And I get to the point quicker. So why say 4 words if you can say 1? You know what I mean? So again, are there members of our community who come from environments where it's all Caucasian people and they are assimilating into that environment so they sound white? Yes. Are there people who come from corporate environments where the majority of the people they're around aren't black, so you're not trying to talk like them, you're just trying to be as clear as possible, right? Trying to be as clear as possible. So we need to understand the differences of this type of shit. And again, we have people who just have like the Valley Girl voice inflection in their words at times. And I'm not even sure how one comes to that point to speak that way, you know what I mean? But all of us black folks, you know what I mean? This is a matter of how we all speak differently to a degree, right? But to frown upon somebody who is being articulate or to frown about somebody who's just using bigger words than you, that's just some shit you got to work on. You see what I'm saying? That just means you got to step your game up. And for our children, like this is an important lesson for our children, family, because I know a lot of niggas in the penitentiary who are in jail, who are in horrible situations simply because they couldn't articulate their point to whoever they was talking to. So because they didn't have the words, they resorted to violence. You know what I mean? And this is a real thing in our society. So we need to teach our children, you shouldn't have to use profanity every other word. To me, someone who's using profanity every other word is a sign that you don't have other words to say. This can lead to something horrible in the future because using profanity at the wrong person, you can start some shit and it can be on and cracking. You know what I mean? So we need to teach our children, they need to be able to hold a conversation in any environment that they're in. Now, sometimes I know people who come from urban communities, and in their mind, they're only going to be around this group of people. So their speech patterns is based on the community that they're in. I implore everybody, your children too, read as much as you can, family. Read as much as you can because we all need to be able to articulate ourselves on several levels. I am like a chameleon. Like when I'm around people, when I'm around my people, my speech gets a little looser because that's just how we give it up. You know what I mean? If I'm in a corporate environment, I know how to curb some of that to get my point across because they already think we niggas. They already think we can't talk. They already think we animals, we beasts, all these different shit, right? So we're coming into situations with all these built-in stereotypes, right? Let's not play into that, family. You know what I mean? Even, I'll touch on something else real quick. Even the square shit, right? Like calling a black man a square. Listen, I am like a self-admitted square to a degree, right? In school, in high school, when I was a young kid, I lived in the urban community like most of us, like a lot of us, not most, like a lot of us, and I was a hood activity observer. You know what I mean? if that sounds right. I was never a participant in anything that was going on in my community, but I was an observer, right? So I seen shit. My brother was involved in a lot of shit, so I have awareness of street activity and how to operate to a degree simply based on observing, simply based on being in these environments, right? Now, sometimes in our community, being called a square has a negative connotation, right? And I'm because my brothers had to be in the streets, chose to be in the streets for a while, had to. My mom was sick, didn't have money coming in. They had to do what they had to do. So street money provided a good life for me early on in my life, right? So when I find out about a young dude who in the street, I'm not super critical at first because I understand the plight of the black man in America. And sometimes when you don't have resources and you're in an environment where you see people making money a particular way, you see how easy it is, that can be alluring, right? So I'm aware of that, and I'm not quick to judge, but we need to be honest about that lifestyle and how nobody wants to stay there, right? Nobody wants to stay there. Everybody wants to end up on some square shit, right? Ultimately, I don't know no street niggas who 40, 50 years old now who still pushing that same narrative. Either they in the pen or they dead, and if they in the pen, they gonna tell you straighten up, square up. You know what I mean? So sometimes we put a negative connotation on knowledge. Like if a black dude is hella smart, right? Like you got a nerd type dude. He won't get the girls. He won't be considered cool in our community, and that's really some shit we need to get rid of, family. Being a street nigga, I have respect for someone because really when we talk about selling drugs and doing these type of things in the community, some of these young men are extremely good businessmen if we just want to keep it real. Some of these young men, the ability stack your money. The whole process of being successful in the streets is rigorous, and it takes a level of intelligence to actually do this shit successfully. Like that's just a fact. You know what I mean? But nobody wants to stay in that position. And if we have a young man who chooses not to do this, who chooses not to go down that path, and let's say he want to go to school, let's say he want to bring science books in the hood and talk about all this shit that's based on intellect, we should champion that the same way we champion street shit. Because unfortunately, we have to be real about the young people in our community, and a lot of them champion street activity more so than intellect and knowledge. And some of that's based on parenting, some of that's based on the music that they listen to, but it's a real thing. You see what I'm saying? That we need to be aware of. Now, again, I call myself a self-admitted square because I understand, in my opinion, I understand my level of street involvement coming up. I wasn't involved in it at all. Some of it I don't understand. Some of it I'm not comfortable with. You see what I'm saying? That kind of makes me a square. But that's still some cool shit because I'm able to be in these environments comfortably, right? Because we've been in there, because we've been there so long, because I'm familiar with it based on my family. So one or other shouldn't be considered too wrong or right, but at the end of the day, the street shit, there's an expiration date on that lifestyle. And that's something we need to preach to our children. And everybody who in the street, they always end up squaring up anyways. So what are we talking about, right? So the conversation about talking white, the conversation about being a square, we need to make sure we're not confusing these things with like anti-intellectualism. You know what I mean? We can't be anti-smart shit. If a brother come around you and he using words you don't understand, that just means you need to learn them. Learn what he's talking about. You got a phone. Google that shit. Figure out what he's saying to you. Everybody who approach you using bigger vocabulary isn't trying to get over you. It isn't trying to get over on you or flex a word that they fucking found out. Some of us, we're just saying what comes to our mind. Like that's how I speak, family. I'm never thinking hard about a particular word. Whatever comes to my mind is how I actually speak, and that's a lot of us. You know what I mean? So the negative stigmatization about someone speaking proper, or the negative stigmatization about someone being a quote unquote square, these are things that we have to kind of unravel in our community because they're unhealthy attributes that come with that. You feel me? So that's something we need to talk about, especially with your kids, man. If you have a child who you hear them talking with their friends and every other word's a cuss word, you should be alarmed to a degree. Now, as children, we all use profanity, keep it real. But if your child, every other word is using the cuss word, if you got a 13, 14, 15-year-old and an adult, this is how you can figure out their level of articulation, right? If you have an adult come to your child and they're, let's say, 8 and up, 7 and up, you know what I mean? Allow the adult to talk to your child. See how your child responds to a conversation, to an adult type of conversation. See their word choices. See if they're making sense. You know what I mean? And if they're not, It's up to you to have better conversations with them. It's up to you to make sure they're reading books, make sure they're getting information outside of their neighborhood, reading books about whatever they're interested in. You know what I mean? Like, this is just gonna make your child a more well-rounded person at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So yeah, we do have people in our community who live in white communities, and I see it all the time. They live in white communities and they are attempting to sound like the people they're around every day. And then we have other people who just are articulating themselves, are in cleaning up their speech based on their environment. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of pressure sometimes being in a corporate environment, and you got all these white folks around um, in different races of people. And at times, how I used to feel is I want to represent for my people. Like, I don't want to make all of us look bad, because I understand if I spoke in this office, in this meeting, the way I speak in my neighborhood, not only will they not understand every fucking thing I'm saying, but you'll be judged by that. You know what I mean? And that's important, living in a society where shit, it's this is damn near white man's world. You feel me? So it's really about being a chameleon and knowing your audience. So that's the point of all of this. That's what we should teach our children. That's what we should pound into our heads ourselves. I'm going to speak based on the audience, based on the environment. That's what it should be based on. You feel me? So this has been another episode, man, of the Melanated Convo podcast. Thank everybody for tuning in again. A couple announcements, right? If you're in the Sacramento area, I'm in Sacramento, California. This year, I'm having my third annual Father's Day softball game on Father's Day, June 20th, from 12 to 4 at Woody Hampton Park, 7320 Florimont Drive. 7320 Florimont Drive. The third annual. Last year we didn't do it because COVID was so heavy. This year we just gonna do it. I'm not waiting no longer. You know what I mean? This year we just gonna handle it. I think by July or maybe June 15th even, most of the COVID restrictions for outside activities will be lifted here in my city of Sacramento. So we're gonna have a jump house like we always do. We're gonna have t-shirts for all the participants. We're gonna be barbecuing. We're gonna have the music going. It's just a real good time, man. If you're in the Sacramento area, please come out. If you're a woman who a single mom, bring your sons out. Bring your sons out, bring your sons out, bring your sons out. Everybody in the community, if you want to come out and just kick it, you don't got to play in the game. I implore all the men, or even the women, like women too, if you want to play in the game, come out and play. The last 2 years we did it, man, the shit has been so fun. It's just been good to relax with your people, eat some good food, have some good laughs. Great, great, great thing for the community. So all my mothers out there, black fathers, I'll be reaching out to people individually like I always do, just to kind of give them a heads up, let them know what we're doing. But I want to see everybody out there, man. It's June 20th from 12 to 4. From 12 to 4, June 20th, Woody Hampton Park, 7320 Florimont Drive. Everybody, do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed to the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube channel yet, please do that. If you have not subscribed to the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube channel, please do that today. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. I'm going to continue to make improvements on the content. I'm going to make improvements on the quality of everything. This is something that I'm passionate about, so I'll never stop doing it. I appreciate everybody who reaches out to me and comments and expresses how much they enjoy what I do, but I extremely appreciate it. I love my people. All of this is about love. Like I always tell anybody, when I'm having a conversation with somebody black about our plight, the first thing I'm asking you, is this a love conversation or a hate conversation? If you don't got love for us, I really don't got nothing to say to you. We really shouldn't be having a conversation about any of this shit because you don't fuck with us like that. You feel me? But if the conversation's out of love, we could talk all day, because we definitely understand a lot of the problems we have, a lot of the shit going on in our community, a lot of the problems we have with systematic issues. But as a people, unity can remedy a lot of these problems, family. So again, I appreciate everybody watching the show. Thank you again for tuning into the Melanated Convo podcast. Follow me on Instagram, Melanated Fathers 100, Melanated Fathers 100. If you're on Facebook, it's Melanated Fathers TV on Facebook, Melanated Fathers TV on Facebook. If you watch or if you're listening from the digital platforms, the downloads on the show go up every day. So I appreciate everybody who rock with us, man. This has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm out.